Continuing our discussion of energy resources, where do we actually get energy for our own uses? This video, I'm going to cover renewable energy sources. I'm covering the big three: solar energy, water, hydroelectric energy, and wind energy. So just like with the non-renewable sources, you need to know the pros and cons of each of these energy sources. The first one I'll go over is solar power, so we can see the the panels that are absorbing solar energy from the sun. We have them above the roof of the high school to help cut our energy bill. What are the advantages of these solar panels, of these solar PV photovoltaic cells? One, there's no burning. No burning is always a good thing. That means you're not releasing carbon dioxide in the environment. It's renewable. The sun is not going away anytime in our lifetime. And it may create a highly decentralized power grid. So instead of having to worry about outages or massive outages because the power plant went offline, you don't have to worry about it because you're decentralized, which is very important in some developing nations. What are some of the disadvantages? People think they're ugly, and in this day and age, looks still matter. It doesn't matter how beneficial it is. If it looks ugly, people don't want to look at it, so they're not going to use it. It's not very efficient, so there's not a high energy conversion rate between the solar energy to the electrical energy, so you do lose quite a bit of energy as heat. Obviously, it doesn't work 24 hours per day since the sun is not out 24 hours per day, so you do need to either figure out a way to store the energy for nighttime or just not use any energy during the night. And because certain areas have more sun than others, it works better in some locations than others. The second one, we have hydropower, which is dams, which is using the power of falling water to actually create electricity for us. So you can see we have the Hoover Dam, and there's the Three Gorges Dam, which I'll discuss in China as the world's biggest dam. How do you actually create hydroelectric power? You build a dam across a large river, so you basically just build a very large structure to stop the water from flowing. The water then builds up behind the dam into a reservoir. You then have pipes that lead through the dam that create openings. So as the water is actually flowing and as it's falling from the reservoir back into the river, it's actually going to turn a turbine, and that turbine is what's going to produce the energy. So the world's leading renewable source is produced by falling water, by hydroelectric power. You can see about 16% of the world's energy is produced from dams. 99% of the energy in Norway is produced in dams. However, only 7% of our energy is actually produced with hydroelectric power. The advantages of hydroelectric: once it's renewable, you can just keep recycling the water supply. There's no burning, so once again, no air pollutants. There's issues with salmon, so if you have a dam, salmon have to migrate upriver to actually mate and to create more salmon. Well, if they can't get past the dam, then you can't have any more salmon. So they actually created little steps that the salmon can climb up to actually get over the dam. The reservoir creates recreation opportunities. People can play on the reservoir, they can use it for boating, they can use it for fishing and whatnot, so it helps communities. And it reduces downstream flooding. So if you stop the water before the flooded zones, you can stop areas that are normally underwater due to flooding from actually getting flooded. Disadvantages: you lose wetlands when the reservoir is created. So when you're flooding the reservoir, there's no wetlands anymore. It's now a reservoir, it's a lake, it's a pond. As we already mentioned, it blocks salmon migration. You lose land and homes when the reservoir is created, which we'll discuss with the Three Gorges Dam. And there's always the risk of, if the dam collapses, where does the water go? Well, the water is going to rush and going to destroy a whole bunch of habitats directly after the dam, because it's just going to be a massive amount of water that's rushing out of that area. I want to quickly discuss the Three Gorges Dam, which is the largest dam in the entire world. It will consist of a 610-foot high wall running 1.3 miles from bank to bank. So it is blocking up a massive river, and it's extremely, extremely long. The reservoir created by it's going to extend 360 miles upriver to the Chongqing, a distance equal to half the length of China. So this dam was supposed to be operational in 2009, is operational today. So some of this information is a little old. So it actually has been created. So it is a massive project, 1.3 miles from bank to bank, and the reservoir is 360 miles upriver. And once it's operational, the dam has enough energy to equivalent to 15 nuclear power plants. So one dam equivalent to building 15 nuclear power plants. So a massive amount of energy is being created from this dam. It was completed, and it cost over $30 billion to actually complete it. When they completed it, 13 cities, 140 towns, and over 1,300 villages were submerged by the reservoir. So a whole bunch of people lost their houses and their towns because of this project. And this is in China, so the good of the many outweighed the needs of the few. So they just took the land and said, you're going to have to move. And all these people were forced to move out of their homes to create this river, or to create this dam, and to create the reservoir to power this Three Gorges Dam. Here is a picture of the actual dam on the bottom right, and you can see the area to be flooded in the picture up here. So you have this entire area that's getting flooded on the Yangtze River to power a massive amount of China from this one river dam. The last energy source I want to talk about is wind energy. How do you actually get energy from the wind? Well, just like with the hydroelectric dam, in that case the water was moving the turbine to create the electricity. In this case, the wind is turning the turbine to convert the energy from the wind into electrical energy. Usually the way you do it is you have a wind farm. Usually you just don't have one wind turbine. You have a whole bunch of turbines all next to each other that are all connected to arrays that can collect that energy and then be used to power something. Usually they can be on land in the middle of the country, and they also can be used offshore in the coastal areas. This is an example of what it looks like on the inside. So you have the rotor blades, like windmills. They turn. As they're turning, they're causing the turbine to rotate. As the turbine is rotating, it's actually creating electrical energy that can be used to power any object that you need power for. Advantages of wind power: it's renewable, once again no burning, and it doesn't use much land. They're quite skinny and they're quite tall, so you don't have to worry about consuming large amounts of land like you do with the dam or what you do with the solar panels. The disadvantages is that it kills birds. Sometimes birds will run into them and die. People think they're ugly. I actually lived in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, which is Martha's Vineyard is right off the coast of Cape Cod, and there was a big controversy over they wanted to put a wind farm up in this area, and all the residents say this is a high tourist area, said that it was ugly and that it would detract from the view and that tourists wouldn't come anymore. Literally, that if you're looking out on the coast, you would have seen maybe about half a centimeter of the wind farm on the horizon. So it was not really a detriment to anything. And after about 10 years, way after we moved down here, they finally actually passed the wind farm. They don't run all the time because the wind currents change. So unless you have an area that has a constant, steady stream of wind like they do in the middle of our country, then they're not very good. And it does not work everywhere because, as I said, wind patterns change in certain areas of the planet. So if the wind patterns are changing, or if you don't have any wind one day, then you're not creating enough electricity to actually power your area.